Hello there. In any sane world, a general election would be called today. And it will come much sooner rather than later. This isn't clickbait. All the signs are there. Just look at the state of the nation. Hotels full of migrants. Farm businesses shutting down at record rates. Doctors going on strike again. Crime on the rise. People fearing for their safety in certain areas. Rising taxes for massively reduced services. Well, reduced for UK taxpayers, but not for the rest of the planet. The burgeoning black market full of illegals. The shutting down of dissent against the Open Borders project. Letting out prolific and sometimes violent offenders out of jail to make room for Facebook comment criminals. Non-crime hate incidents to cow the masses, stuffing the ballot box with 16 and 17-year-old voters, signing up to the WHO pandemic treaty, allowing so-called international law from anywhere, whether binding or not, to control every aspect of our lives, and using the police to ram through nationally abhorred open borders policies, all while catering for every demand that comes from a new certain demographic, like the soon-to-be implemented blasphemy laws. Just like previous governments over the last 3 decades or more, at every level and on every measure, Keir Starmer's Labour government has failed the people of the UK. Only with this government, it has been failure on steroids, leading to fears of violence across the country in the coming months. Now, the British people are hard to rouse, which is a very good thing. But their tolerance for consecutively lying politicians is coming to an end. They are fed up with manifesto promises broken at every turn, especially where legal and illegal migration is concerned, with the government's weakness where woke is concerned, and the reality of those tax changes by the back door. That is what is causing the national ire to rise, not a couple of far-right activists on the fringe. And the answer to that threat of violence is democracy. Labour must, for the sake of national peace, admit their failures and call a general election. Prove themselves at the ballot box after just a year of abject failure. They have that responsibility. Stopping any unrest is in their hands, not ours. The people getting angry is not an insurrection. A government ignoring the people is an insurrection. And at some stage, that will dawn on them. What do you reckon, Richard?
Indeed, all the signs are there, Jeff, for a general election. And a few people are probably thinking, well, there's not going to be any general elections. There will be. Very soon, I believe. The signs are there. Look, they've just dropped the voting age to 16. Why? This is a calculated push to harvest youth votes very quickly. And he knows that, obviously, with the new political party brought up by Jeremy Corbyn, which has had 200,000 sign-ups in 48 hours. We're not talking about likes or follows here. People have signed up to this. The threat on Starmer is incredible right now. If he waits any longer, he will literally have no MPs left. He will be forced, like Rishi Sunak was, to call a general election very soon. All the signs and indicators are there. Honestly, this is getting quite scary for him, to be honest with you. I mean, but the thing is, a lot of you would probably be thinking, well, it's like, yes, we've heard this before. Jeremy Corbyn, between 2015 and 2019 under his tenureship, he managed to get, oh, good grief, what was it? 560, I think, or 580,000 people to sign up to become members of Labour. I believe they were the biggest political party in Europe. And all of a sudden, bang, he's got a rush of 200,000 people. Starmer will be panicking. He will be thinking election very soon. But the thing is, as well, this is the big problem that will hit the left when they do call this election, and that is, even though Jeremy Corbyn managed to get 560,000 people to become members of the Labour Party, it was a catastrophic defeat. I think it was the worst performance of the Labour Party, or a political party potentially. No, it was Labour, since 1935. I mean, the Red Wall completely collapsed, and they lost lifelong Labour voters. They lost the Labour heartland in many areas. Yes, and this new party, the new Jeremy Corbyn, your party, well, it could do a heck of a lot of damage to Labour, even though it might not result in either side getting many seats. This is a win-win-win situation for Reform, to be honest with you, Jeff. But I'm just looking at this, and yeah, how long can it possibly be? I'm going to say probably by the autumn. I think we're going to have a snap election by the autumn, Jeff. All the signs are there, and all the signs, good music is coming from Keir Starmer himself. The people hate him. You know, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and they brought in these 16-year-old proposals for votes for 16 and 17-year-olds just before we went into this summer recess, or whatever it's called, and they'll come back. It's going to probably be one of the first things they start talking about, getting that through the political business of the Houses of Parliament to try and push that one through. It gives them more time to call an early general election. As soon as they've got the votes for the 16 and 17-year-olds, as soon as that's in place, then they might then go, oh, we've got a chance, because every other indicator is that they are going to be routed completely at the next general election. And the longer they leave it, the worse it's going to get. Think Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak went to the country, 6 months early? And everyone said, why did you do that? But it's obvious, really, isn't it? Because he knew Reform UK would wipe him out, wipe his party out completely. By calling it early, he actually salvaged something. Labour is going to be in that exact same position. They can hold on as long as they like, but at the end of the day, they have to call an election. It's the law, and they can't stop it. And the House of Lords, as I've said so many times before, has that one ultimate power to force a general election on them. And that's going to happen. So, it's everything's on the cards for it. We should be preparing for it. And I hope Reform UK are preparing for it. And I hope that Advance UK are preparing for it. And Restore Britain, I'm hoping they are. Because I can tell you, Corbyn is preparing. He must be.
Yeah.
Because he's an old hand at all of this stuff. So be in no doubt.
Interesting point you made there, Jeff.
Coming.
Yeah, very interesting point you made there. That Rishi Sunak knew that Reform would have wiped the Tories out if he hadn't called the election when he did, by the time of the next election. But that was the Reform Party without Nigel Farage in it. So that's worth remembering. That is incidentally that there was a direct threat to the Tories from Reform prior to Nigel's return. Thanks to Ben Habib, a lot of that as well, incidentally.
Yes, definitely. And part of all of this is this police overreach. They shepherd the open borders mob about and treat them with kid gloves, don't they? Despite the face coverings and violent gestures. But here's what Reform UK councillor for Ongar, Jamie McIver, said about the Epping situation on X, if I can find the right one. Here we go.
Go on, Jeff. You can do it.
Last night, whilst councillors were in the cosy council chamber, women and children in Epping were peacefully protesting. They were put in a cage like zoo animals. I will today write to the Chief Constable and ask why this was necessary. Personally, I think it's insulting. Yeah, and he went on to say this on Twitter. This was on the same tweet or the same X post.
I'd just like to say that the people of Epping are not zoo animals, and they do not need to be locked in cages like they are over there. But as a councillor, I don't mind a small little win. So when I first arrived, there was only one entrance into the zoo animal cage. which has been allocated for protesters. Who on earth made that decision, by the way? And there's only one entrance, which meant that women and children had to walk in the main road on rush hour in order to get into their cage. And so I'm pleased to say that following a conversation with senior police officers, love your hat. Following conversations with senior police officers, there are now 2 entrances, so at least women and children don't have to walk into the main road during rush hour. But I would love to understand why people are in a cage. I just find that totally insulting. But well done to the residents that are there. I'm on my way to the council meeting now.
So there you go. People in cages outside a hotel, an asylum hotel. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes you think exactly who the establishment wants to put in the cages, doesn't it? Just another nail in their coffin. Just another nail in the coffin of democracy. A general election has to come soon. It's things like that. It's not ordinary people. It's things like that that put ordinary people, it gets their dander up and all the rest of it. It gets them angry when they're treated like outsiders in their own country. And that can't be right. They're paying the bills. They're voting for people. And if Labour can't understand that, well, I'm sure the reality will hit them soon. So what do you reckon, Richard?
Yes, I think it's already hit them. The one thing I'd say about Corbyn's party, a lot of people think, oh, Jeremy Corbyn, ha, 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 ha. He's just got 200,000 people to sign up to his party. This is no joke. This is this is serious stuff. This is going to be a serious political party, whether you like it or not. Now, whether this serious political what the serious political party, though, will do, though, is it'll galvanize all the complete nutters, the left-wing nutters, and they'll all just flock to it. And there are plenty of them in this country. And those who sort of have some kind of romanticized version of Jeremy Corbyn as being this, incredible savior, when we saw what happened to Labour under it. It became officially anti-Semitic. Did it not, Jeff? And there was a full report which mentioned. Yes, Corbyn did get a few little mentions in that report on the anti-Semitism, but I'm not going to go fully into that. But don't write this man off. Do you know what? I have a slight amount of respect for Corbyn. He believes what he believes and he stands up for what he believes, even if I totally disagree with everything he believes in, and probably most of you will as well. At least he believes it. Whereas when you have Starmer, you have an individual who is changing his mind on a constant daily basis in terms of what he believes. What is a woman? Can a woman have a what down below? And he's changed his mind on that, which is quite amazing, really, that he could do such a thing. But this is where Corbyn will take advantage, because he will be that solidifying far left-wing character that they all want, and many of them will rush to Corbyn, and this will split Labour. So Starmer has to act quickly before that party fully mobilizes. Has proper fielding of candidates. I mean, they're going to have a rush fielding of candidates, probably. And you know the type of people who will be rushing across. And also, I will say, you have to look at the demography of the demographic of those who will be moving across to this new Jeremy Corbyn party. I think you'll find they are of a different sort of faith to most of the indigenous population of this country, a very specific faith, and I can't remember the name of it. Goodness gracious me, I'm getting old. But there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Know what this is, and this is the pressure on Starmer right now, with as if it wasn't bad enough with the migrant hotel situation. Now Corbyn, oh my goodness, he's going to push it. Yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and also we've got this burgeoning underground or black market, whatever you want to call it, of crime, which is just growing, it seems, by the minute, as you can see from this Mail exclusive. And the scope of it is just being laid bare. The barbers, car washes and salons employing illegal workers across Britain, as they are slapped with fines of up to 225,000. But I bet they've made far more than that. And here is a bit more of the report, if I can find the right bit. Yeah. The ability to work without papers has been cited as a major pull factor in drawing illegal migrants to Britain, prompting officials to hike fines to 45,000 per worker and carry out more raids on firms suspected of breaking the rules. New figures show 12 barbers across the UK were fined between October and December 2024, making the sector one of the most common employers of illegal migrants. But car washes featured even more prominently, with 38 receiving fines and 2, Clean Car Centre Hand Car Wash in Coventry and Bubbles Hand Car Wash in Edinburgh, hit with huge fines totalling £180,000 each. So you can see the sort of scale, but the big stinger here is they only exist because so many of us in the UK rely on them or use them. They're cheap, don't we? So we use them. So do we have ourselves to blame there? Or is it the fact that they're just there and they're cheap and there's no tax, we don't really care? We've got to look at ourselves in the face a bit here and all the delivery drivers, or does it come down to the fact that most of us are spending so much time at work trying to hang a job together, or maybe 2, maybe even 3 jobs together, that we don't have time to do anything than order food in when we can from wherever and get someone else to do all the other jobs that we would normally do ourselves on a quiet Sunday afternoon? What do you reckon, Richard?
Yes. I was just sorry. I was thinking here just about Jeremy Corbyn and the impact that he's going to have on Labour. Now, there is one group of people who will not be moving across to Corbyn's new party, and that is the Jewish voters. They will not be, if there are any left in Labour, that is, which I highly doubt. But I was just reading today about, in the Daily Mail, Jewish comedians have their stand-up shows axed from Edinburgh Fringe venues as bar staff feel unsafe. Unsafe. It just goes on to talk about safety concerns now. That makes you think, doesn't it? That gives you an idea of the situation in this country, where a group of people, okay, some of you, irrespective of what you think is going on in Gaza and between Israel and Gaza, irrespective of that, these are Jewish people, right? These are people living in Britain, okay? These are Brits, right? Do these people deserve to be persecuted? No, they do not. But these people, one thing's for sure, they will not be voting Labour, and they certainly will not be voting for Mr. Corbyn. So that's one set of demographics that's gone completely out of the window. What else did I find here today? And incidentally, speaking of the asylum seeker hotels, in Sky News today, it says that Home Office threatens asylum seekers with homelessness if they refuse hotel move. Okay, now I could go on and read more about this, but I'm not going to bore you. What that tells you, though, just that alone, is that this has been something that's been put out. And do you honestly think, right? Do you honestly think that asylum seekers, if they refuse to be moved on from a hotel that they don't want to leave, or for whatever reason to go to a hotel they don't want to go to, do you think they're really going to be made homeless? There'll be judges, there'll be on their side, the solicitors will be on their side, the jury will be on their side, they'll be able to sue the government left, right, and Chelsea. Am I not correct there, Jeff?
Well, I will also remind people that a year ago, there was a bus outside a hotel ready to take its occupants from there to I don't know, was it Bibby Stockholm or something, where they didn't want to go? Do you remember what happened? It got surrounded immediately within minutes by hundreds of Open Borders activists. They put e-bikes under the wheels of the bus, didn't they? Do you remember that? Now, I'm surprised that hasn't happened this time. Does that mean that they're beginning to lose some traction? Because normally they'd be there like a shot, wouldn't they?
Well, of course, very good point. Yes. We've seen what's happened down in... you have to remember what's just happened down in Canary Wharf now. All of a sudden, those people with a little bit more money in their pockets who would have been quite left-leaning living in London, they're being a little bit shocked by what's happening. Oh, no, it's on their doorstep now. Ooh, they're not going to be voting Labour now, are they? In fact, one of the things that's quite interesting is a reform. I think it went from the Tories this time. A reform. They got their first. Let's have a look here. Can we get this right, Richard? Reform UK win first ever London council seat in huge blow to Kemi Badenoch. Now, granted, that's come across then obviously from the Tories, not obviously, but probably from the Tories.
Yeah.
That's an issue that the Tories would be going, oh, good grief, this is a problem. But don't be surprised now if you start to see Labour starting to lose council seats to reform. That's going to happen. The red wall has already collapsed. I can't remember who was it. It might have been not my favourite person, but Zia Youssef put out a tweet, did he not, Jeff, showing a map of the...
Oh, I've got that one.
You do have that,
I can put that one up.
Great. There we go. Okay. Now, if you look at that, as you will notice, okay, granted, if you're looking at Scotland and you're looking at the far west of the west of Wales, which are traditional sort of Plaid Cymru heartlands, there is no change. But the rest of it is starting to look very, very pale blue indeed.
Yes.
And if this is replicated across London even, I mean, we know the demographic change in London, but if that starts to creep across London, as people start to realize, even those people, incidentally, hey, I have to add, even those people who may be of a certain demographic may be unhappy by a large influx of people from the same demographic as themselves. They may not want that themselves. In fact, there are a lot of people from within that demographic who don't like other people from the same demographic coming over here, which is quite interesting, and don't want to have them especially perched on their own. I can't say the same demographic, actually. That's a little disingenuous there to a certain degree, because there are people who may be of a similar faith, but are not necessarily of the same demographic. Okay? The distinction must be, let's be honest here. There are distinctions within that. So, yes, Jeff, I can see a perfect storm coming towards Starmer right now that will push towards us having a general election very soon. I'd say in the autumn. This is looking very much like it. If we're wrong, Jeff, if we're wrong, we're wrong. But I'm sorry. All the pressure points are upon Starmer right now. The only other thing that could possibly happen is the unthinkable, that civil disorder takes over. Really does. Because you're going to see factions against factions, huge faction splits within the left now. That alone could turn ugly. So over to you, Jeff.
Yeah, with that picture, you just have to look at it. If we all know that when people are polling, when they get into the reality of the ballot box, and it sort of dawns on them, they might change their minds. I understand that, and they might just go for, well, they've sort of been safe in the past, the Tories or whatever. But I don't think it will change that picture that much. But what's in the politicians' mind, people like Keir Starmer, they'll be looking at this and going, how can we save this? If this goes on and more of these polls come out showing this sort of thing, it reinforces in the minds of the people that reform are the next government. It reinforces it day by day, drip by drip. The only chance that Starmer and the Tories have themselves is to go to the country early and try and salvage something out of this. If they leave that to fester, it will just get worse and worse, and it will spread north. It will spread north. And gradually, the whole of their world will come apart around their ears. There'll be nothing left. They will have to go for it in the end, because otherwise it's doom. Oh, and thank you to our Doppler. Good afternoon, gents, and good afternoon to you too.
Yes, sorry, thinking about that map again. You don't have to put it back up though, Jeff. The point here is as well, don't forget, Wales is very much, we've got, this is the other huge pressure point heading towards Starmer right now, and that is the next year. If the Welsh council elections, okay, it's looking like it's going to be an absolute bloodbath, and that it's going to be a landslide victory for reform in most of Wales. Of course, you have the Plaid Cymru Welsh-speaking heartlands in the north and the far west. That's not going to change. Okay, well, I'd be surprised if it did. But when those election results come in, to show that the heartlands of the South Wales valleys have gone. I don't think I have any bias in this because I have a Welsh accent. I'm telling you, that is the bellwether. That is the litmus test again here of the performance, probably in the general election for Labour. It will be catastrophic. So before that compounds upon the already worsening situation with everything that's happening with the migrant hotels, potential civil unrest, Jeremy Corbyn's new party. Before that happens, he's got to call an election, because this being added on top, the Welsh election results, it'll destroy them. It'll destroy them. It'll destroy Labour instantly. In fact, I think it's already begun. We are seeing that right now. One of the things we always think about civil war, when people talk about civil war, civil unrest, think it's going to be one side against another. No, it'll be multiple sides against multiple sides. And even within the left and in the right, everyone's going to be vying and pushing forward for some form of dominance. And that's not going to work very well for Labour at the moment. They're going to become the weakest link very fast.
Yeah.
There is no option here other than a general election.
Now, one of the things I point out about that map is that I don't know, because I haven't looked at the screed that comes in the small print, but in Wales for Senedd elections, they're for over 16s, aren't they?
Yes.
So that means that's already factored in. So the general election is at the moment for over 18s, but when it becomes 16 and over, you'll suddenly find that Labour is hoping it's going to save them, but it's not saving them in Wales, is it? It's not saving Labour in Wales. Reduce the age of voting there is already 16, the same as in Scotland. So as I said in the video which we did about this, I was saying that giving the votes to 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds may not be the big left-wing save the day thing they think it is.
Yeah, so I'm just looking for your party website. I'll find it now in a moment.
All right,
but,
okay.
My point here, which I'm about to come on to, I'll have a look at that later, actually. The point here is that apparently there's going to be a huge swathe of people moving towards who are prepared to, was it 10%, I think was it? I can't, no, but that's right. I think that Jeremy Corbyn's new party, your party, would potentially take up 10% of the vote. Although there'll be a little bit of back. It's a fresh new party. There's a bit of excitement, but it has the potential, maybe more. But this is going to be a massive split in the left. But there's so many young people apparently they've polled it, and they're finding that the young people, the youngsters, are very much would vote for Corbyn's party way before they would vote for Labour. That's a very interesting point. But one of the things that is not being factored in is for some reason, I'm not a fan of Farage as him individually or Mohammed Zia Yousaf. However, they are being very good. They are very good with TikTok, and they've got an incredible TikTok presence, and they are courting the young very, very well. And it's surprising to see so many youngsters coming out and saying they'll be voting Reform. So I think if they're hoping to win the youth vote, it just shows how disconnected they potentially are from the people of this country, from the electorate. If they think that they are going to take the youngsters who are basically had their future thrown out the window, just thrown out the window, gone. You have no future. These are your replacements. They're coming in. You are worthless. You are worth nothing, especially if you're a white young male or a white young girl, and you're walking the streets in the towns and cities of this country. You don't feel safe. Are you going to vote for either Labour or Jeremy Corbyn? Really? I wonder who's doing some of this polling as well. But what I will say is this: election coming. It's coming.
Yes. If Rishi was forced in with nothing like this firestorm around him, if Rishi Sunak felt forced to go to the country, how do you think Starmer's feeling right now? Oh, and don't think that let's change the leader. Do you think if we change the leader from Keir Starmer to, I don't know, Angela Rayner, David Lammy, to Rachel Reeves, or Yvette Cooper, do you think anything would change in the way they approach the country? Do you think they would suddenly listen to everyday concerns by ordinary people? Do you really think that? No, they won't. It will just get worse, especially with someone like Angela Rayner in charge. It would cloth-eared, tin-eared. She wouldn't have a clue what she was doing on a day-to-day basis other than feed the unions, feed the unions. That would be about it.
Yeah, but I can see her
Yeah.
going across to I can see her moving across to Jeremy Corbyn's new party anyway. That's the other
Oh
side.
no, she wants to be leader of the country, and the fastest way is to depose Keir Starmer. Probably the easiest route as well.
Yeah, it's not going to last long. I think I'm not so sure on that one. I think Corbyn would potentially welcome with open arms. But how many other Labour MPs will go across to this new party?
Yes,
that's what I'm wondering. I'm thinking that alone could cause a general election. I think one of the things that can happen is the absolute disintegration of the Labour Party itself whilst it's in government. If people start moving across the floor and in numbers, where's the legitimacy of the Labour Party now to govern? And would the House of Lords themselves potentially force something on this matter, Jeff? That's another matter as well.
They could voice concerns. The Westminster elite could voice concerns. But as you say, if Jeremy Corbyn gains traction, it won't be taking Reform UK voters so much.
No.
It'll be absolutely hemorrhaging away Labour voters, Labour support, unions, money. Just think about all of that. What would Labour do suddenly if a load of unions went across and started supporting Jeremy Corbyn and funneling all that dosh that Labour has relied on for 10 decades and decades? They've relied on that money, and it suddenly disappears overnight. This is quite a sort of a pivotal point in the history of the Labour Party, and as it stands. And if it becomes that bad for them, I don't see they can't hang on. How can they? How can they? Especially if MPs start. Well, if it looks like Jeremy Corbyn is going to get me voted in, goodbye, Keir. They won't stay around very long. You know what these MPs are like, jumping from party to party. They'll be off. They'll be off. Don't worry.
I don't think. I mean, but the elephant in the room, which as I pointed out earlier, is that this might be this huge groundswell of support for Corbyn. But where's it coming from, and is it reflective of the entire nation? Previously, he did this with Labour. I said earlier, he did this with Labour. They had a massive increase in their membership. What did it triple? I think it did under Corbyn, and yet they had a disastrous result at the ballot box. So that gives an idea of his ultimate appeal. I mean, a lot of people within Labour are not fond. Labour supporters, traditional Labour supporters, are still not fond of Jeremy Corbyn, and people like to liken him to people like Michael Foot or Tony Benn, who were incredible politicians, regardless of where you stand. I mean, culturally, they were far more conservative than our conservative MPs are right now, and probably the hierarchy of reform are right now. That's something to be remembered, incidentally, about people like Tony Benn and Michael Foot. Culturally, that is, far more conservative. But the point here is that people do remember people like Michael Foot and Tony Benn, and they can see that Corbyn is not that. No matter where he's not some natural successor to those men. He's something else, something quite insidious. There we go.
Yeah. People are saying in the comments that it's never going to happen. There's no general election coming, if anyone will ever be held again. And that seems to be, that's how much people have given up on this country, given up on democracy, and that's why I say that a general election has to happen soon. People are saying that Keir Starmer will call those people far-right thugs, but how many can he call a far-right thug? How many? How many can he keep putting in prison? What's he going to do when the prisons are full? And at the end of the day, these people, they're not. When their families are at risk, what do you expect them to do? Just go, oh, We had an election 2 years ago or a year ago, so we must wait for another 4 years and just hope that somehow all these threats go away. Oh, well, there's another hotel. Oh, another hotel. At the
It's
end of
going
the
to get
day,
worse.
how long does Starmer really think he can withstand people pressure before they're faced to go to the country? Now, some misguided people point at us or the right wing, saying it is our fault for pointing out the obvious. But it isn't. It is the fault of politicians who refuse to acknowledge their culpability in creating this environment of discontent. They create it and they know it, but refuse to take the obvious democratic route out of it, either by changing their policies and laws or asking the electorate to take the decision out of their hands. There is only one legal way to get rid of a government. That is at the ballot box. But we rely on the UK-loving, statesman-like behaviour of our politicians to maintain that tradition. This lot look like they want to impose themselves on us, come what may, and might replace Starmer with, as I said, Rayner or Lammy, in the hope things will improve. But that way lies disaster for them. They should show some real grit and call an election today before their ballot box gerrymandering for 16 and 17-year-old votes come to fruition. The responsibility is not on us to keep our mouths shut for their sake. The responsibility is on them to either do as we as the voters instruct or to stand aside. If they fail to do that, then the repercussions are on them, be in no doubt. Ram that message home.
Yes,
That's
as you
my
said,
view anyway.
yes, Jeff, as you said, if he had any decency, he'd call an election. But it's beyond that now. He is running out of options. In fact, he has, I believe, run out of options. A general election is something he will have to do. Either that, or he's going to have to call in some form of martial law. And I can't see that happening because the police isn't adequate to be able to deal with this. We covered this yesterday, actually, where I can't remember the oh, good grief, the Police Federation, the union spokesperson or head of, where he actually said that don't expect the police to be able to hold the line if this gets worse, if the protests extend into further towns. They won't be able to. The police won't be able to deal with any kind of uprising or civil disobedience. That's not going to happen. So what are his options left? Well, I think Jeremy Corbyn might have just forced his hand, to be honest with you. Yeah. And, that's it. That's what's just happened. Look, a lot of us might have something to thank Mr. Corbyn for. And some of you were saying, oh, this is clickbait, this is clickbait. No, circumstance. Jeff, do you remember a few years ago when we called out a certain thing with the housing market? Well, we were right. And I think we're going to be right again, Jeff. You can see, sometimes you can just see the blatantly obvious heading towards you. Yeah. And this is one of those scenarios of the blatantly obvious. He's got no way out. Please, can somebody give me a rational argument and tell me how Keir Starmer and his Labour government, the incumbent Labour government, can remain in power? Please tell me how that can happen. They can't. They can't. As soon as people start walking across the floor to Corbyn's new party, which they will, as soon as that happens, it all starts to collapse. They become ineffective, unable to govern. There'll be votes of no confidence as well. That's the other side of it. In fact, that could be one of the main triggers as well, of votes of no confidence in the party and within the government itself.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the only way that Keir Starmer can stay in is if he gets hold of his MPs and promises them ministerial jobs, this, that, and the other. Yeah, the old school, or has dirt on them that can be used, which is, don't tell me that doesn't happen. And but with so many of them, you can't promise them all to be Chancellor of the Exchequer, can he? At the end of the day, so
he probably would. Yes, He
And,
probably would promise them all to be Chancellor. You'll be Chancellor tomorrow, you'll be Chancellor tomorrow, and you'll be Chancellor tomorrow, and you're Home Secretary for this week, and next week it's you. I mean, that's the kind of thing I can imagine will happen. There'll be some kind It's not going to happen. No, that's the kind of character we're talking about.
Anyway.
I think this is a very exciting time for us, Jeff, as a country.
Thank you, Triggered Christian. Christians need to learn the Islamic dilemma. Yeah, good one. Yes. So thank you very much for your contribution.
Christians need to learn the Islamic dilemma.
Go and look it up.
I haven't heard of that one, Jeff. I'm going to go and look that up very soon.
Don't look it up now. And Rusty
right.
says 16-year-old children being allowed to vote, insane. Well, at the end of the day, we did go from 21 down to 18, but that was under the sort of thinking that 16-year-olds, you leave school at the time when the 18-year-old vote came in, 15-year-olds went to work. Then it became 16, but at least they had 3 years in work before they voted. Now what we've got is 16-year-olds who are going to spend probably the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years in education because they're not educated enough for the workplace. Yep. Are going to be voting during that period. Surely, as I've said before, we need to extend the voting age to match that and make it 30 or something like that. Anyway.
Well, and there's another thing as well. So there's one other thing which we haven't really factored in properly here, Jeff, that could spark a general election and basically societal breakdown if we're not very careful. And we've sort of covered it previously, but we've sort of forgotten about it of late, and that's our farmers. Labour's disastrous policies this is from the Telegraph, blamed as more than 6,000 businesses close. People are leaving farming and the industry surrounding it in droves.
Yeah.
I'll just read here. It says a total of 6,365 agriculture, forestry and fishing businesses have closed over the past year, according to the Office for National Statistics. The highest since quarterly data was first established in 2017. And also Jamie Blacket, again in the Telegraph, too much on the Telegraph these days, Jeff, we are, has come up with a piece here called Labour's War on Rural Britain Goes Far Deeper Than Farms. Though I could go into all these, but it gives you a sort of outline, framing of what's going on. At some point, if we're not careful, the farmers will stop producing food for us. Now think about that. Just think about that. All of a sudden, you can't eat. Things change very, very quickly. These are so let's add that now to the next year's Welsh council elections and the swing almost certainly to reform, which will be catastrophic for the Zeitgeist within the Labour Party. You then have the issues with the migrant hotels here and the protests and the growing anger towards that situation, and of course Jeremy Corbyn. It's almost like a partridge in a pear tree, on the first day disaster my true love said to me. Anyway, sorry.
Now Paddy Gap says if Labour became bankrupt they would have to call an election by law. I think that might actually be true. Running a bankrupt political party wouldn't be a good look, although under Rachel Reeves's chancellorship, that's probably what's going to happen anyway. But if they do lose all that union funding, what are they going to... Right, what is Labour going to promise the unions in order to keep that funding coming in and stop it going to Corbyn? Oh, dear. How much more tax are we going to have to pay to keep the unions happy? That's what I can see happening. And that's the sort of things that will drive a general election. In the end, the civil service will just turn around to them, advise them and say, look, if you don't call one, it's on you. And that's when the message will get through.
Well, don't forget the union
as Lee Sharp says, September the 13th. See you in London. See you there.
Well, the thing is, the union support for Labour does seem a little bit strained at the moment.
It is,
to say the least. Angela Rayner just got kicked out. What union did she lose? Oh, good grief. Anyway, it's gone. But the other day.
Was it Unite?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Was it Unite?
Yes, I believe it was.
I think it was.
Union. They've had a bit of a falling out, and that that's with the depth. Of course, that was over the bin, the rubbish bins in collection in Birmingham, and she was there just telling people, just no striking, whatever, go on, whatever you pay, just go and empty the bins.
Just do as you're told.
Go collect the bins while they're empty.
As Stephen Garner says, I left school at 15. Yeah. There are a lot of people out there who did leave school at 15. And their votes they've probably got more nous about them after working from an early age than people who go off into the closet brainwashing schemes in the education system up to the age of whatever to try and get a degree, a master's and a doctorate or whatever, because they have to fill all the right boxes all the way through. So yeah.
Well, another sorry, but that was a very good point you raised there, Jeff. As soon as you start mentioning people with degrees, of course, wasn't it one of those sort of election promises for quite a while? I'm not sure if it was in the Labour Party manifesto, but for a very long time, the writing off of student debt was something that was part of the left wing's. I'm sure that's going to be party policy now for Corbyn. That will be almost certainly part of. That'll be in there, and also it'll be writing off, especially right now with the striking doctors. You're going to see people going across the floor because the striking doctors will say, we want our student debt written off, which incidentally Wes Streeting has made a little hint and mention of. But things are going to turn very, very interesting very quick, especially within the education system. All of a sudden, they already support Corbyn, Most of these lecturers in universities are Corbyn all the way through. Cut them in the middle, and you'll find it's like Jeremy Corbyn, like a stick of rock from Blackpool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Labour hasn't got long.
As Doppler says, 18, age of consent, and voting age. Yes, that might be a good political message to send out, especially in these days.
Well, they lose a lot of 16-year-old voters if that was pushed forward.
I'm not so sure, actually, but there you go. Yeah.
Very good point. Yes.
Who knows? The slow boiling of the frog, says Compost Smurf. Yes.
Yes. Well, I think it's just come to that point now, Jeff, where the people of this country are clearly unhappy. It's like a while ago. Say if we went back, say about 3 or 4 months ago, not many people were talking that much about civil war and civil unrest. Now it's commonplace. It's a common part of people's discussions. And why is that? I mean, even the Prime Minister has said that he fears, and Angela Rayner have said that they fear riots this summer. Yeah. Well, why do you fear that? What have you done that's so catastrophically wrong that the people of this country are even considering that? What's gone wrong? What have you done? Yeah. Is the penny beginning to drop?
Yeah, you see, Richard, they think it's the people's fault for being ignorant, thick, racist, bigoted, whatever. It doesn't matter. They must be locked up and they must conform. We must cow them into conformation. They must be punished for even thinking anything outside of what they believe. And that's where we're at. Yes. I mean, the government has lost control. Yes. So any government that's lost control must call a general election. That's the whole point, because it can only get worse. From the economy to defence, to agriculture, to energy, to democracy, to pensioners, to veterans, they have failed the lot whilst pursuing the single aim of internationalising the UK and its people away for their own, what I can only surmise as satanic aims. And this applies to all the traditional parts of the uniparty establishment, the Lib Dems, Labour, the Tories, the SNP, all of them, the whole lot, the Greens. No wonder the British people are flocking to other political offerings right now, like Nigel Farage's Reform UK, Ben Habib's Advance UK, Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain movement. And now Jeremy Corbyn's Your Party that seems to be gathering, what was the 500 new sign-ups an hour, which to me actually looks more like the current Labour Party, but just aiming to get to the uniparty destination much more quickly. The only question for the electorate right now is which of these political offerings will bring them prosperity and a safe country in which to live. And by the looks of things, according to that recent analysis, which we've already shown you, Reform UK is at present the chosen vehicle to deliver that. With general electoral calculus predicting, what was it, a 222 seat majority for Reform UK if an election were held today. So the message here is that Labour must acknowledge its failure and say we're making things worse for the country. And if they were statesmanlike and had anything about them, they would hold their hands up and call a general election with a brand new manifesto, which we would know is a bunch of lies anyway. They're toast.
Yes, and don't forget as well, I believe Jeremy Corbyn's party will also be pulling people from the Greens as well. So that's going to be very interesting. That sort of the impact that's going to take place on councils which have got a large Green contingency. So a lot going on. A few super chats just popped in here, Jeff. Don't know if you're
I'm just looking at now. Amazing disgrace. Thank you very much. Does Britain actually have Sharia courts? I've heard about it, but can't find anything that proves it. I think there were newspaper reports several years ago saying there were about 85 Sharia courts operating in Britain. The thing is that it's some of the decisions that people agree to could be deemed as outside our law. But it's very difficult to because the only way that could actually work is if the people who are subjected to those Sharia court decisions, like divorced women, actually went to UK law to get it overturned, to get a what we would see as the right decision through the UK legal system. If they don't come forward, if they take the Sharia decision that makes it worse for them than if they'd gone to a UK court, there's nothing we can do about it. It's their decision. Unless it's a criminal law.
Well, that goes to show. Well, that goes to show that there are people living in this country who do not observe the rule of law in this country. That their mindset and their psyche is towards a different set of rules and laws, which in their mind is already in existence here. In terms of being the legitimate legal system within the country. There we go. So, yeah.
And also, thank you, Bradley Nees. As an American, I ask, where is your king? Isn't this when he needs to step up? Don't get Richard started on this one. But basically, the king does have the ultimate power to dissolve Parliament. Should things be really out of hand. The trouble is that he has the same leanings, as far as I can see, as the government. So he will never dissolve something that is moving in the direction he thinks the country should be moving in. The people are of a minor concern now for the entire establishment. The people of the UK no longer matter. It is the people of the world that matter over and above us. They want to see a position where our wealth is redistributed, where people can come here to make a brand new life at our expense and make their lives better. However many want to come, wherever they come from, whatever their history. They have absolutely no care in the world for that. And all that's going to happen is we're going to be finding more Brits fenced in and jailed. All the power of the state will be put there to defend people coming in. Not to defend us, not to look after us. That's where the money will now go. That is the internationalist side of all of this. We should be aware of that, and we should vote accordingly.
I'm not sure if the king has had his ability to dissolve Parliament revoked However, he still can do it, which is a strange thing. He can, I believe it would be a complete constitutional crisis if he did, but maybe that's what's required. It would be literally the nuclear option. I can't remember. I think there was a complete revoking of his ability to do that by Parliament, but he still can do it in a strange kind of way. I'm not entirely sure of the ins and outs of that. So something I'm going to have to look up a little more, actually. Thank you. Yeah.
And Doffler points out, if a teacher, sports coach, youth worker, etc., has certain activity with a 16 or 17-year-old under their authority, under their care, that's illegal until the young person is 18. Yes, that's true. So where people have a hold of some sort of psychological, perceived psychological control over their charge, yes, that can, and it might even extend to adults who are who are vulnerable to those as well. So I'm not sure about that. I can't remember, but that is a good point. But if that's the case, why not just make it a blanket 18, and then you can leave the law to sort out, between consulting youngsters and all this sort of thing and what happens there, because it's going to happen anyway. And thank you for normal is overrated. Please note these references down and research them later. Where do these refs stand regarding the hate laws? And there's a list there. I can imagine what some of them say. But there again, you see, you can look back in the Bible and see certain things as well, certain references. The difference is that I haven't met a Christian who abides by those.
Well, that's because, yes, there's a reason
things.
for that. They're contextualized, first of all.
Yes.
And many of the points of hate and towards, this is something I'm not entirely sure of, but from what I have learned is that some of the tribes in which in the old, that's incidentally in the Old Testament, by the way, all these things, they are not necessarily towards humans as we know them. Okay, some of those tribes apparently may have been Nephilim tribes, tribes of giants, effectively. Like, you remember Goliath in the Bible, where he had brothers, they're all giants. But hey, it depends how much of this you believe. If you believe it or not, whatever. But but you are correct there. The Old Testament unpleasantries are contextualized by Christ in the New Testament and given a different perspective. There we go.
Yeah, and thank you, Peter Montgomery. Globalist orders import voters to dilute national unity, get the country into debt so creditors dictate what happens. None of this is democracy stuff. Yeah, I get that. That's the way to control people. In fact, there's a report in, which one was it? I can't remember now. It might have been the Times, talking about the way the water companies have been set up. They've been set up to milk them, not to provide water, but to provide cash for the investors via a certain route. And the argument is that this is actually giving what's it called, capitalism, a bad name because of the way it's set up. There's a set number of people that live in an area. They have to pay for their water. How is the best way to relieve them of as much money for that water as possible? And that's the system that's been set up. And that needs addressing, I would say, quite quickly, if that's true. Yeah, it's so, yeah.
I'm gonna have to make a move in a minute,
Yeah,
Jeff.
this is a good one from Abatha X. Thank you very much. Snap election aside, I'm convinced civil war will break out before the next election. No one wants it, but when it does happen, the oligarchy and Keir the traitor Starmer can only blame themselves for it. And this is the whole point that I'm trying to make. If you don't do what the electorate and the taxpayer wants, and all you do is use force against them and call them bigots and racists for not complying with what you think is best, especially on the back of 20% of the people of the electorate actually voting for them, then it's a recipe for disaster. It's not like people are going along with this, even though they got a massive majority. They should be told by officials, you haven't really got the mandate to do this. You can't do this. Look at what's happening. And the other thing is that struck me this morning, everyone's going on about this Essex chief constable, aren't they? Forget the chief constable. He's there doing a job. What you've got to do is go for the guy above him, the police and crime commissioner. Go for them. Go for them. Go for them. It's the next election. You're out. You're gone, and your party gone, unless you do something about this. That's how you get to these people. They're the one, you've got to go for the political points.
Yes, and just before we go, Jeff, I'll say on this comment here is that this is exactly why a general election, I believe, will be called, because civil war and deep civil unrest will take place, I believe, before the year is out. Unfortunately, that's the way it's looking, or at least before the next general election. That's the terrible situation that this country finds itself in. And yes, I think it's the oligarchy, Sir Keir himself, and as was rightly questioned earlier, where's His Majesty been in this? Why has he not spoken out about the evil taking place in his country? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Oh, quick one here from iDoffner. Go for woke and go and not for broke. Yeah, well, if you go woke, you go broke, effectively. So I think that's what you're trying to say there, iDoffler. So yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this this live stream. And yes, we believe that there will be a general election coming very soon. It's a perfect storm for one. It's one of those scenarios where Dr. David Betts would speak of a perfect storm for civil war. Well, this is a perfect storm for a general election. And there we have it. So if you have enjoyed what we've done today, please like the video, subscribe. And click the all option when you subscribe, incidentally. Do it. You know you want to. And if you do really, really like what we do, then please, please, please become a channel member. You have to do it on a laptop or on an Android phone. It doesn't work on iOS devices. It says join. Is it join or is it become member? Whatever it is. Click on it. And, and it costs you less than a pint of a beer in a London pub. And in certain London pubs, it costs you less than a half a pint of beer. There we go.
Yes.
So over to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you very much for watching and partaking in our live stream. We really do enjoy it, and we hope we bring you something new, some new debate to the table, which is what we really try to do, and point out that things aren't always what they seem. So, and on that note, I'll say it's goodbye from me,
and it's goodbye from Mr. Jeff Taylor. Whichever way he is.
Goodbye.